missing. So obviously they're telling the truth. So there was a mystic last year that we spoke with in our ministry. We have two ministries. And with All Saints Ministry, we found out that Satan came to his 5 generals and said, you guys are now in charge of porn. The way that all porn works, I want you guys to be in charge of it and destroy the world with it. So Baal said he wanted all of it himself. He wants to do everything himself. And Satan actually told him no. Now, Baal likes child pornography and anything that involves children and pain and death. I'm thinking, Satan seems like he'd be in favor of that. Why would he be against that? He'd be against that because if that started being the law of the land, we would revolt. You can't send us those messages and those images and think that we're going to embrace that. But you can make us the frog in the pot of boiling water. You can show us a naked woman just standing there, or a naked man just standing there, and eventually, the way our brains are wired, seeing 2 naked people is not enough. We have to see more. We have to see 2 naked people doing something. Or now you need to see homosexuality. Now you need to see BDSM sex. And it gets worse and worse. Eventually you're looking at teens and you're looking at preteens. You're looking at pedophilia. And it's the way the brain is wired that it destroys your own morality. So, looking at all these demons that are going after porn, and each level of porn does something else to you. You know, there's a book by Matt Fradd called Delivered, and we are almost out of them, but they are, if you have a porn addiction or know someone that has one, get one of these books from me. We buy them in bulk, and then we give them away for free. We have them blessed and given away. We're doing a fundraiser right now, trying to buy up as many as we can, because we're almost out. So doing this, you know, and having all this porn, you know, it was starting out innocent. I mean, we've had porn for practically 4,000 years, maybe longer, but it's gotten worse and worse over time. Where now it's, if you saw porn, you almost wouldn't recognize it from what it used to be to what it is now. It is so filthy, so nasty, and so addictive. You know, the whole world, the worst addiction right now is porn. Porn was the first $1 trillion industry. You ever wonder where the movie companies got the idea of using a DVD instead of a VHS tape? Porn industry was the first one to use that. So I'm looking at all this porn that's being made. And I mean, the United States is the biggest distributor of porn. We're the biggest developer of porn. We're the biggest consumer of porn. And, you know, thinking about that, and it's like, no, wait a minute. There was over 100,000 children that got lost at the Mexican-American border. And it's believed that they're in the United States. How can 100,000 children disappear into this country? We're free. This is a developed country. We're a first world country. How is this possible? And if you listen to the sound of freedom, 2 million people go missing every year from around the world. How is it possible, unless maybe, I don't know, the devil's in charge, that 2 million people can go missing and nobody knows where they are? Well, and a lot of these people are missing in this country, and we're Catholic. We shouldn't be having these issues. So a few months ago, I heard this podcast, and it caused me to write I did my own podcast on Spotify, and it's listed under All Saints Ministry. Has a picture of 2 miraculous medals and 2 candles that are lit. And the name of my podcast is What the Hell? They had this, the FBI did an app, and this app is going to search for one phrase on the dark web. And whenever they find this phrase, for the program to be successful, it has to find the person's name, IP address, email address, and physical address. And then it prints all that out. And so they got a certain number of people, and the FBI contacted local law enforcement and local courts. So they said that if they searched your electronics and found these images, you'd be arrested and you'd go to jail or prison. But if they didn't find anything, then local law enforcement would just tell you, well, we got our eyes on you and we watch you. You know, if anything suspicious happens, and they'll contact the person. So I'm listening to this podcast and I'm thinking, you know, maybe, they arrested maybe 5,000 people or something. And in the end, the phrase they looked up was child rape. Now, surely there couldn't be many people looking up child rape. Do you think if they looked at child rape, that would be connected to Satan somehow? Would that be a satanic thing? So, remember that they say that whenever when you turn on the lights at night and you see one roach, there's 99 more you didn't see. When you arrest the street drug dealer, there's 99 other drug dealers that got away. So going by that, whatever amount of people they caught in this sting, that was 1% of the people. And 99% of the people got away. This sting operation was only done in the United States. And only the term child rape, and only the people that had child rape images in their electronics were arrested. And all these people are now sitting in either jail or prison. Anybody want to take a guess how many people they found? Now remember, this is people that they got their name, their address, their IP address, everything about them.
1,000,000.
The million was the closest one that I've heard. There was 850,000. 850,000 is 1% of what number? It's like 88,500,000. There's only 330 million people in the United States. That means over 25% of our country is pedophiles. Still wonder about the connection between Satan and everything else. I mean, do we truly have a connection with everything? Then when we were doing our stuff and we found out that all the demons that were in charge of porn, we decided to look into it a little bit further. Found out that there's a porn star with the name Bale. There's a porn distributing company called Wicked Pictures. There's another one called Evil Angel. There's even Pornhub's parent IP address company is Leviathan. It's like, just hide in plain sight, why don't you? And then there was this boy, we started having certain priests say exorcisms against these things happening. And soon after that, Pornhub got hit with a major lawsuit from a young man who was 18 years old. His dad had recorded sexual assaults of him and gave it innocent names that no one would suspect, like, I sexually raped my 11-year-old son. He made like 18 films like that all have over 1 billion views on Pornhub. And currently he's suing Pornhub. I would like to think that he got the grace to go through with all that, with all the message we were having said for the cause. So, going forward, and we see so many things that Satan's hands are in, and the evil knows no bounds. I wrote a book, I have a CD set called Abortion is a Satanic Sacrifice. And in it, I talk about satanic sacrifices like abortion. And, I tell about how we got abortion in this country, the organizations that I worked with as a high wizard to move Satan's agenda around the world, and through spiritual warfare, how to shut down an abortion mill. But, you still have to wonder, am I nitpicking? Is Satan truly behind every tree, under every rock, and behind every bush? Well, only God can be everywhere at once. So Satan is using his generals and his other minions so that he can appear to look like he's everywhere at once. Do you want to know my proof of abortion being a satanic sacrifice? Tommy, you're not allowed to say anything. Every night, starting at midnight and going to 3 a.m., is an extended black mass where Satanists consecrate all the abortions of the day. Now that's the abortion you got because your boyfriend wouldn't understand, the abortion you got because you couldn't afford it, the abortion you got because you didn't want to be kicked out of school, you didn't want your parents to kick you out of the house. Whatever your reason, all those abortions were consecrated to Satan and the Antichrist every night in masses, black masses. And I thought, how can I fight this? I've got to come up with an idea. I already fight the devil head to head. It is a hardcore battle. And you may have noticed, you may or may not know that I'm blind. I'm missing my right foot. I've got this really cool metal foot on the right side. I like to send off the airport securities because they don't know that and they won't do that. And, when they run over to me, because obviously I have a weapon of mass destruction and it's a prosthetic leg. What can I do to shut down the devil? And know that if I do this, I've got a major target on my chest and my back. We came up with a prayer. Now, I have two ministries. I have All Saints Ministry, which is generally what all you know. And I have another ministry called Our Lady of Guadalupe's Army. Now, if you listen to the letters of that, Our Lady of Guadalupe's Army. So when we talk about our ministry, we don't call it Our Lady of Guadalupe's Army. We call it Olga. And I'm not necessarily fond of the name Olga, but it's a beautiful ministry. And I have a few partners in crime in this ministry, and we all know we are targets of the devil. Because this prayer that we have is against the devil and the Antichrist and all the consecrations to them. And we bounced it off of Archbishop Jeffrey Grubb, an exorcist and a canon lawyer, who told us that there are no loopholes in it, so the demons can't get around this. They can't fight this. Then we are trying to get priests to do masses that will also say this prayer to counteract these, so that suddenly Satan and the Antichrist have the power that they have, but they're not getting any more, which is extremely important. And if we could get every priest in the world to sign up, we need, if we were giving every priest a $10 stipend for every mass they said, for the number of masses we need, it would cost us just under $90,000 a year. But imagine if we could do the masses to shut that down, and then we went a little step further. Let's say that we did like 5,000 masses a day, so that Bill Gates would convert. or so that George Soros would convert, or that the members of KISS would become Christian or Catholic instead of Satanists, or anybody that you can think of. The Mass is the strongest prayer we have as a church. The Rosary is the strongest prayer we have as lay Catholics. If you could do unlimited Masses for people, like the greatest gift you can give a person that's alive is one Mass. Imagine if you got everybody you know perpetual Masses. They couldn't be stopped. Satan wouldn't stand a chance, and Mary's going to be kicking butt every day. You know, when I give perpetual Masses, I try and give them every 90 days. And it's for everybody that's ever contacted our ministry, everybody that donates money to our ministry. We just have a long line of requirements to get onto those lists, but we include everybody. So nobody's left out. Everybody that's at this conference will be added to one of those the next time we buy them, because you came and saw me at a conference, and that's one of the lists that we have for people that get them. You're getting 365 Masses a year till Christ comes back. If you did that to your relatives, all the ones, especially your kids that have walked away from the church, do you think they can resist one Mass? How about if Christ doesn't come back for another 1,000 years? That's 365,000 Masses. I'm thinking your kids are going to be Catholic again, doing that many Masses. Because God doesn't look at it and go, oh, you didn't get those until they were this old, so I can't pertain that to them. We're limited by space and time, not God. God has no limitations. So at the point that you bought the Masses, He can attribute all of those to you at any time, or at the time you needed it. Even at the time of your death, give you all the grace from all those Masses all at once, so that you accept Jesus on your deathbed and your final breath. Wouldn't that be cool? I mean, you're praying your entire life to try and help people become Catholic, and then God just snaps His fingers and bam. Now remember, all those prayers you said are not wasted. No prayer is wasted. So we were working at, Satan has connected the dots everywhere. There's so much stuff. If you can look around the world, just look at anything, you can see, you'll know them by their fruits. You can see the connection of the dots of everything that is satanic. Conversely, you can also then see the stuff, you can see the hand of God in so many things. You can see times that you should have died, but you didn't. And at those times, Satan was working hard in your life. And then you notice that Mary was also working equally hard. I was on my way to hell. And I didn't care. I just figured I'm going to be spending eternity there. It's just the way it works. I was a Satanist. Yeah, I was no longer in the satanic coven, but I was still doing the will of Satan. I was addicted to magic and couldn't stop. So I'm plugging away, thinking I'm living a good life. And I wasn't doing abortions anymore, and I wasn't in the satanic coven, but I was trying my best to keep doing magic, keep doing stuff. And it's all about accumulation. What can I get before I die? Because you can't take it with you. And then this woman named Mary Ann Workman had the gall to come up to me and give me a Blessed Miraculous Medal. How dare her do that? And then she tells me the craziest thing I've ever heard. The Blessed Mother is calling you into her army. And I'm thinking, Blessed Mother? Isis? Gaia? I don't know who this woman is. I grew up Baptist. You know how many titles we got for Mary? 0. You know how many names we got for Mary? 0. Do you know what Mary did? She gave birth to Jesus. Do you know what else she did? Nothing. Because all she did was give birth to Jesus. We didn't know in the Baptist church that Jesus' first miracle was turning water into wine. Why? Because the Baptists don't drink alcohol. I found that out when I was Catholic. That was like one of the first masses I attended. Man, this was his first miracle? You're kidding. So she tells me all this, and in my mind, I was the only eye wizard out of 7 billion people at some point. That is a power trip and a half. And this woman is trying to convince me that this blessed, miraculous mother has some kind of power to it, some magic to it, some mystique. This doesn't have anything. This can't touch me. There's nothing this can do. I stick my hand out for her. She drops my hand, I clench my fist around it. So I'm going to tell her this is worthless. At that time I could feel something and tell her this was used in a protection spell. This was used in a death spell. Your friend bought this at Goodwill and made a story about it. There's nothing to it. And I know this is going to be just like that. This woman just represents some female deity cult. I came from 2 big covenants, not interested in hers. And all this time, I had no idea who Mary was really. When you're Protestant, Mary is nothing. She gave birth to Jesus. Well, she's a mom, that's what she does. That's what moms do. It's no big deal, all moms do it. Looking at the connectivity of Satan, everything that's connected, it's like he's in politics, he's in rock and roll, he's in movies, he's in Hollywood. He's everywhere you want to be. Remember that if sinning wasn't fun, we wouldn't do it. We wouldn't be tempted by it. And why is it that every time you do something that Satan says is fun, you feel guilty afterwards? Why is that? So I'm living this free-spirited life, and I was really dating the porn. Turns out that's satanic. I was into human trafficking. Turns out that's satanic. I was into abortion. Turns out that's satanic. I was into magic. Turns out that's satanic. Everything I did as a Satanist for almost 30 years was satanic. And the connection of everything. If you can think of anything that in your mind is evil, it's probably satanic. And yoga is evil. It is, the yogi masters used to get mad at Westerners because we thought we could separate the exercise from Hinduism. One was created for the other. They have, these gods and goddesses they worship that are demons. And I thought Reiki was amazing because you got to do magic in it. Oh wait, that's magic, that's satanic also. It was like everything that gave me pleasure in the satanic world was indeed satanic. And it wasn't until I became Catholic that I realized that I know how to fight this battle. I know certain prayers that counteract evil. I know we now have, within Old, we have this prayer that will shut down Satan and the Antichrist gaining power. Like once this starts up, they're powerful that they are, but it won't go up from there, which is an incredible feeling to be able to do that. Did you know that the average, just according to Planned Parenthood, the average abortion mill does 1,500 abortions a year? My book and my CD set is, we've shut down since 2015, we've shut down 53 abortion mills around the world. Which is like 80,000 people a year for saving, which is an incredible feeling. You know, it's like on Judgment Day for me, I have two things that I'm looking forward to. One is getting to see all the babies I saved. You know, and how many of them that I saved that became a future poet? Or, you know, the guy that cured cancer, cured AIDS, or, you know, whatever it is, whatever massive, amazing thing they did. But I used to, when I signed my books, I signed them with your name, and then if you're a layperson or a priest, and I signed keep kicking the devil's butt. If you're a nun or a child, I say keep kicking the devil's booty. But if you've got moxie or attitude, I sign it, keep kicking the devil's ass. And I was speaking in Toronto with a bishop from Africa, and his secretary came up and said, the bishop would like you to autograph his book. And I was like, sure. So I go to sign it, and I said, oh, you didn't have to buy this. I gave them free to Priests and Religious. And he says, oh, he donated $300 to you. I was like, oh, okay. So I signed it, Your Excellence. Keep kicking the devil's ass. And I gave it to the secretary. The secretary read it, and he goes, oh, he's going to love this. So he goes up, gives it to him. It's about 30 feet behind me. The bishop reads it and roars with laughter. Runs up behind me, grabs him by the shoulders and shakes me, and says, I certainly do. I kick the devil's ass every day. Every day I wake up and I tell myself, how will I kick the devil's ass today? And then at night when I go to bed, I say to God, God, today I kick the devil's ass. And then on Judgment Day, when I am standing there before the throne of God, and God says to me, what was your job on my planet? What was your station? I will tell him, I was a bishop in your church, and every day I kick the devil's ass. And when he say to me, who told you to kick the devil's ass every day? He said, I will tell him, Zachary King, of course. So, on my Judgment Day, I have to ask, has there been a bishop from Africa really seen me yet? No? I'll wait. So as I know when that bishop shows up, Mary will show up to defend her bishop. So I've got the bishop there, I've got Mary there, I'm going to be my attorney, and then I'm going to step up and say I'm ready. And hopefully that will be a very good meeting for me.
I hope so too.
I'm hoping that all my suffering is brought in millions of people, and I'm hoping that I got to escape purgatory, hopefully. You know, I'm praying for everybody that's here today. I've already prayed for all of you.
Thank you.
I've got a bunch of friends here. I've got my posse is here. I'm not going to expect them to stand up and volunteer, but I've got my own posse here, so I'm pretty happy about that. Yes. Yeah. No, it's always got to stop touching me. So, in my world, I know it seems like, how could all of this be connected? I was a Satanist for like 30 years. Everything I've told you about is connected. Abortion is connected to human trafficking, to child pornography, to record pornography, to politics, to rock and roll, to movies. You know, do you think Epstein really killed himself?
No, that's a lie.
I don't think so either. You know, there's so much stuff that's going on, and people get away with everything. You know, if you want to know who the evil people are, look God is wealthy. Now there's a difference. Do you that don't know the difference in rich and wealthy? Shaquille O'Neal is rich. Michael Jordan is rich. Seinfeld is rich. Michael Jackson was rich. Who signs their checks is wealthy. There is a connection to all the evil in the world, even if you cannot find it. It's there. Everybody is touched by the devil in a certain way. Satan knows everybody's weak point. He knows the chink in the armor, and he knows how to exploit it. Now, our best bet at keeping safe is to stay in a state of grace. Now, I know that's not easy for some people, but as soon as you know you're not in a state of grace, go to confession. Make your priest sick of seeing. My priest used to tell me I was his best parishioner because I knew when I wasn't in a state of grace and I would show up. And I said, "You've seen me 3 times for confession in one day. That doesn't seem like that's a very holy person to me." And he said, "On the contrary, you knew when you were not in a state of grace. Most people don't have any clue." He said he has people that show up once a year during Easter. And I tell them, "You couldn't possibly have made it all year with no sin." And they'll tell you, "Oh, no, I was sinning all year long." But the Catholic Church says I have to come to confession at least once a year. And he says he can't convince them that if they died not in a state of grace, they're going to hell. You know, God will give me grace. We gotta change people's minds, educate people, teach them the correct way. Also, we are starting to run out of our medals, but don't be shy. Still go by and get them. They're all blessed. And if we run out